Hi guys, I am super excited to do the second video, which is a conversation with. Now, this week I am joined by my very good friend, Suzanne Egleton. So Suzanne and I have worked together for quite some time now, isn't it, Suzanne?
Long time, probably about 10 years, Terry.
A long time. Some would say far too long. Well, I think obviously everyone that knows you's got a great insight to an amazing career that you've built for yourself. But for everyone kind of viewing this, I think the best place to start would be your journey so far. And if we start with the beginning, the first introduction to e-commerce multi-channel.
Of course, no problem. Well, first of all, Terry, thank you for having me. Appreciate it on our last day of lockdown number 2. So this is a big day indeed. But yeah, I'm happy to take through my career to date. I'll try and keep it succinct. So I don't want to kind of take you through my CV in a really dry way. But look, I've been in industry and working for over 25 years now. And the one thing that's always been core and really the backbone to everything I do is retail and marketing. So that is consistent throughout all the industries I've worked in, and retail's really been at the core of that. You know, I would say actually that my career has been a game of 2 halves, right? So 2 distinct halves, one working outside of fashion and one working inside of fashion, right? So I haven't always been in the fashion business. So this may surprise you, Terry, and may surprise a good few people that I used to work in a number of tech spaces. So America Online, which was the leading internet provider many years ago. I've also worked for Microsoft, Sega, and worked in computer games on the likes of things like the Blue Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog, for example, and launching those types of games into the marketplace. So really that's where I got my love of tech, retail, because it was all about retail marketing in those spaces, and marketing as well. So, you know, very privileged to work in those types of businesses. So Sega, Microsoft, very sort of large organizations, very much tech, new tech and entertainment spaces. So that was really my first half, if you like.
Yeah.
My second half, in terms of the game of 2 halves of my career, was I moved into fashion. Right. And this was big for me because I love fashion, right? And, you know, really it's about doing what you love, right? And people say this to you, do what you love, do what you understand, do what you love. And that's what I did in the second half of my career. I said, I love fashion. I love shopping online. I love retail. Go into that, do it with conviction. And that's exactly what I did. So, you know, for me, it's about brands, it's about fashion. And I've been very lucky to work for some of the largest British brands in the market, retail brands in the marketplace. And, you know, those have included Jules, so a gorgeous lifestyle brand that's doing very well in the market today. French Connection, Ted Baker, as well as All Saints. So some gorgeous brands and dream jobs to many. And I feel very privileged, if you like, to have worked for such gorgeous brands and great teams as well. I've also worked for some amazing CEOs within my time. So, you know, the likes of Stephen Marks from French Connection through to Ray Calvin, Ted Baker, you know, true entrepreneurs that I've learned a lot from. And most recently, Pete Wood at All Saints as well. And I've learned a lot from working with really quite brilliant individuals as well as working for great brands. So I think, you know, in my career, the most recent roles have included, you know, managing the P&Ls, content, merchandising, all the usual bits and pieces you would expect to see, you know, in these types of roles. But at the core, it's all about the people, right? So, you know, leading great people and leading great teams.
Amazing. So like you've just highlighted, you've worked for some incredible brands, obviously like the Ted Bakers, All Saints, French Connections of the world. But every retailer at the moment, obviously, given the pandemic that we all find ourselves in, digital has become such an important part of what a business does. So how would you propose to you scale up e-commerce in today's market, both in the pandemic, but also kind of generally?
Sure. Well, I'll give it a go. I mean, there's a lot in here, but you know, look, firstly, you know, look, I love getting hold of brands and scaling internet brands. That's what I do. That's what I love. You know, as fast as possible, as profitably as possible, and achieving those sales. So I personally get super excited about that. The one thing I would say, and I put a big caveat over everything I'm about to say, because we are in a global pandemic and it changes everything. So where you might say, I want to do these 20 things over here, you might not be able to because you're trying to put a fire out over here. But that said, these things that I'm about to talk you through are still principles to scale an e-commerce business, right? And I stand by those, whether you're in a pandemic or outside of a pandemic. But obviously, I want to mention being very, very mindful of the very difficult times that we're in. We can't quite ignore that. So look, I've got about 10 points here that I just want to take you through. Essentially, look, keep it simple, do the basics, right? I think in e-commerce, you can get very, very distracted by shiny things, right? New tech, AI, new personalization technology, whatever those things are. Not saying they're not important, but they're all icing on the cake. And actually, in retail today, get your basics right and focus on your 80-20 rule, right? If you get those basics right, you've got a great platform and foundation for success for scaling your business, right? Then you can layer on top all the kind of sexy new cool technologies and all of those good things, right? So it's about focus, it's about that 80-20 rule and getting those basics right. Some of it's not glamorous, by the way. Some of it is, right? So, you know, it's rough with the smooth in this industry, as you well know. So look, I'll just take you through a few of my points, if that's okay. First of all, get your targets clear, right? Get your P&L in place, right? You know, EBITDA and profit are the most important things in our industry. Without that, we're nothing, right? Because we wouldn't be here. So it's very, very important to set your P&Ls very clearly and set expectations internally within your business around what you're trying to achieve, right? Whether that's through your concession partners, your online concession partners, marketplace partners, or whether that's your .com, right? And how you're going to grow those businesses, yeah? So clear targets, clear KPIs, so everyone is clear, right? So that's number one for me, right? The second thing is around teams, right? Which is such an important part of everything that we do. Without teams, we're nothing, right? So get your team in place, get your specialisms in place, get your people, as you well know, Terry, in the industry that you're working in, right? You've got to get the right bums on seats and the right people to build your team and get that right balance of skills, right? And whether that's your direct team or whether that's your agencies or partners, you've got to have the right team in order to, you know, really deliver, you know, success. So that's my next key point. I know Martin Newman you had on your conversations last week, and he's very, very passionate. I am around a customer first approach to everything that you do, right? And customer centricity. So for me, it's about building your customer strategy. Yeah. So who are you targeting? Who are your customers? Not who you think they are. Who are your customers? And really hone in and focus on, you know, who your customers are. Give them the best customer experience, right? Love your customers, right? They're everything. Look at your customer journeys. Give them that, you know, wonderful customer experience that they're looking for, and then target your customers' CRM and all the good stuff that, you know, I don't want to teach you suck eggs on that, but around, you know, talking to them in the right way, giving them the love that they need. But that customer first strategy is also key. A big one here, and I wrap it up into a very loose term, but a stable and good-looking website. You know, there is a lot in here, but I don't want to labor it. But you know, you've got to have a good, scalable, global web platform, right? That you have a clear tech roadmap associated with it as well. So, and look, there's always stuff you've got to do, like, you know, the CCPA or PSD2 implementations that just have to be done, which might not drive sales, in fact, might reduce some sales in some cases, right? But overall, you've got to have a clear roadmap, focus on your top projects, deliver your good scalable web platform. And within all of that, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff around, you know, great content and storytelling. So what are you trying to tell your customers? What products are you trying to push? What are you trying to say about your brand? Yeah. And, you know, really make sure you've got the right functionality on your site. So do you have the right payment types? Is your site fast? Are you offering personalization? Are you mobile friendly? All of those good things that are pretty standard in today's world, but you've just got to make them happen. And this is what I'm saying around focus on that 80-20 rule and deliver the most important things to ensure you've got a good web platform. Another point I've got is around customer service. So again, with this customer centricity at the center, you've got to have a great delivery proposition, a great returns proposition. You've got to be at least in line with your peers, right? I know from being in lockdown and being a mad, you know, internet shopper myself, that some people offer great service and delivery, some do not, right? And I'm sure you experience this a lot at the moment. Some people really surprise you. Some brands really say, that's just what people expect. So, you know, I would urge anyone to make sure that your delivery and returns proposition is, you know, your top of your game. As well, your customer services team. So, you know, people that are on the direct line, talking directly to customers is such an important area, especially in a global business, you know, looking at a 24 hours follow the sun, you know, customer service proposition and be better than the rest and have that one-on-one communication and offer that really, really good service. And that's the same across your stores as well. And everything I'm talking around is stores and online. So, you know, a wonderful omni-channel service proposition, click and collect when the stores are back open, yeah, through to, you know, ship from store, making the most of those stores from a, you know, warehousing point of view, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, customer service is absolutely critical as well, as part of that, you know, customer centricity strategy. I've got 3 more points on this point, so stay with me, Terry, if that's all right. Marketing, right? So marketing's a big one, right? New and existing customers, you've got to attract new and you've got to keep your existing customers. So state the obvious, but you've got to spend to grow. Yeah, there is no shortcut. Yeah, this is your magic sauce, right? You have to, your secret sauce, your magic sauce, whatever you want to call it, you've got to drive the traffic to your website, and it costs money, right? And a lot of brands are fearful of that concept, yeah, but you've got to have the confidence at the right ROI, of course, and be very, very mindful of spend and profitability. You've got to spend to grow, otherwise you will not grow. Right, customer, that's through your brand amplification plans, or whether that's your digital acquisition strategies. Both are very, very important. Conversion strategies are also important around, you know, getting your basics right, get your stock availability right, get your product right, you know, make sure that your website can cope with demand, et cetera, and get your conversion and get people shopping. My last point on this is around culture and organizational design. So, Terry, I'm sure you hear a lot around this at the moment. Retail's changed, yeah. I don't know if everyone's seen out there, read the press, you know, retail's been changing for years. Yeah. And I think COVID's really accelerated that change to move to a digital first culture. And, you know, and getting retail into 2020 and into 2021, essentially. It's time, it's now, you know, it's just got to happen. Yeah. And I think a lot of brands, you know, in their defense are still struggling with that journey because they've still got a lot of stores, a lot, you know, and you know, that's their heritage, but it's time to move into that new digital culture and go feet first. It is time. So I think that's a really key point for me. I mean, I've been campaigning about this for a very long time because I'm in the digital space. But I would encourage everyone to move very fast to jump feet first into that digital arena.
Amazing. Thank you so much. There's some great advice there.
That's my list, Terry.
I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about. The other part of the career,
Indeed.
obviously, retailers now are they're all moving into digital spaces and things like that. The other side that is super, super important to get right is that internationalization piece. Now, I've worked with you for a long, long time, so I know that this is something else that you've been incredibly successful in doing and launching. So what would be your kind of top, say, kind of 3 tips for launching a not just the British retailer in the in the international world, but launching in international as a whole?
Okay. So international is really, really important for growth. Yeah, a lot of brands today have absolutely rinsed their current market. Some haven't actually. So the natural step is to say, okay, where else am I going to get growth, which is international. So it definitely does need to form a key part of your growth strategy and scaling strategy. But, and I put a couple of caveats on this. One, it's COVID. Yeah, so there's a time and a place to do this type of investment and this type of leap. But we still need to do it and plan for the next, you know, few months and years ahead, because COVID will disappear, we all hope, and we need to get back to business as usual. Again, I would say simplicity and focus is really important. Don't overcomplicate international, right? It would be my recommendation to tread very carefully because it's a high risk area. Yeah, a lot of people fail when they try and expand globally, and it can be very expensive. Yeah, especially to drive traffic and to enter a new market with a new brand. So there's definitely a level of caution. You know, when playing in this space, that's not a reason not to do it, but it's not always easy. So it's about focus and having a test and learn strategy to make sure that you succeed. You know, and each region is very different. I mean, US and Asia couldn't be more different. Germany couldn't be more different. Yeah, so those nuances and those understanding of each market needs to be understood very carefully. So look, really simply, I would recommend anyone just to put together a 3-tier strategy around, you know, your core market. Don't take your eye off the ball. Rinse your current market. If it's the UK, there's a lot more that you can still do here, right? Yeah. Make sure you do a good job. Don't take the eye off the ball. Focus on your key market. I would then suggest, you know, really honing in on maybe 1 or 2 new markets and saying, okay, which are, looking at your analytics and your data, saying, where am I getting demand? You know, where should I grow next? Yeah. So if it's Germany, for example, say, right, I'm going to put together a business plan around Germany and do that properly, whether that's payment types, trusted shops, it could be translations, and put together a clear P&L strategy around that to make sure that you are very focused around that area and that you invest in it. Yeah. Because, you know, acquisition spend is very expensive in new markets like Germany, for example, but that's what you have to do to grow that market. Yeah. And then I put the third bucket around, you know, the rest. I mean, there's a big bunch of regions, right? So if you're attacking over 200 new markets, you need to make sure you can ship to those new markets, yeah, that you can, you know, cater for the tax and duty management very carefully, and that you're, you know, that your shipping capability and your returns processes are tight enough that you can grow those extra markets, because there's a lot of revenue that comes from there, but they're not big enough to really focus on them individually. So I think there's certain tools out there, whether it be globally or eShop World, for example, that can cater for those types of you know, third tier, slow, you know, smaller tier regions. So look, international is key. It's a key part of any growth strategy, Terry. And you know, I just would put some caveats in there around Brexit. I can't believe we're still talking about Brexit, but Brexit, as well as the pandemic. Yeah, it's still there, and that there is a level of caution, but there's also a lot of potential and opportunity.
Amazing. And I think for me that the next part of the questions is around advice for heads of e-commerce that are stepping in. Now, I get it quite a lot, where heads of are adamant they're ready for a director role. They may well be. What would be your advice to heads of either a head of e-com or online trading, or anyone at that level looking to step into a director? What would be your kind of advice to them around leadership, and kind of the difference in role, because it becomes a lot more political at that level? What would be your advice there?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try and answer it. There's a few things I'd say in terms of advice. After being in the industry a long while, I mean, look. First of all, I just do what you love, right? I say that to anybody, right? So, you know, be values driven and be happy has got to be the most important thing, because if you're happy and values driven and do what you love, you will be more successful in your role, right? That's just, you know, just how it is. You know, to move into a more senior role, I mean, look, it's interesting. I think e-commerce is changing all the time, digital is changing all the time, marketing is changing all the time. But essentially, these roles are general management, where you are, you know, expected to be an expert in every single area, and it can be very, very disparate around tech through to marketing, through to content, through to merchandising. You expect to be an expert in every single area, which you cannot be, right? But you've got to have a good understanding across all of those different functional areas that are very sort of left brain, right brain, and very, you know, mixed as well. What I would urge anyone to do is don't get siloed in this industry. So, you know, quite often in e-commerce businesses, you're either a great digital expert, digital marketing expert, or an acquisition, you're a great CRM expert, or you are a great analytics expert, for example, right? And you can get pigeonholed, right? So try not to get too stuck if you want to move up into a generalist role. Now, that's not always easy to start moving across different functions, but I would urge anyone to try and to move where you can to broaden that skill set. But, you know, read articles, you know, read books, you know, and, you know, learn about different areas, shadow other teams, and be a super keen bean to keep learning, so you can get that sort of mix of skills. But one thing I would say as well is, look, you know, don't rush for that promotion. I see a lot of people doing this around, you know, I've got to move faster up, you know, quicker. And I love that aspiration. I love that ambition, but you've got to be credible, right? And in order to succeed, you've got to do the time, right, to a degree, and learn and be about what you do to gain respect from your peers. So, you know, don't rush. It will come, you know, in terms of that promotion. The other thing I would recommend is, you know, show leadership qualities, ask lots of questions, be curious, and, you know, keep learning, right? You know, have integrity about what you do, You know, don't talk ill of others because that just reflects badly on you. Have that integrity and have that leadership quality. Another point I would say, and this is really hard actually, especially for people coming through the pipe, you know, speak up, right? A lot of people don't speak up. They're afraid to speak up, you know, and what they have to remember is, you know, leaders want to hear what people have got to say. You know, we're not mind readers, right? But people are fearful. I mean, you've got to be careful about what you say and when you say it, of course, but, you know, say what you think, right? Because we want to hear it. So I think that's a key point. The other last point on this is, look, you know, there's no shortcut. You've got to work hard. You got to work really hard, and you've got to graft, right? I was born up north, and you know, I was brought up. You work hard and you graft, yeah. And it's not always easy, right? There are setbacks every single day. I mean, I could list a number in my career where it's been really, really tough, yeah. But you get back up, you stand back up, and you get back on the horse. Yeah. And sometimes it's not a straight line to your career or that director job that you want. Yeah. But it can be a zigzag. You might have to take a backward step, but you will get there and keep focused and you know, never give up would be what I would say.
Amazing. I think the final question, obviously at the beginning, we've spoken throughout. I've done a number of recruitment hires with you. I've spoken to a number of people that have worked for you, and one of the kind of reoccurring subjects is your line management. What would be your thoughts on building a good team?
Okay, well, this is an area I love. I love managing teams. I love people, right? And it's something I like more and more in my career as I progress. Actually, you know, I love seeing people develop and shine. I think it's such a joy to watch people grow, and it's something I love. So look, as a leader, a digital leader, which I guess I am, you know, you have to set clear goals for your team, shared goals, because without those, no one is going to be pulling in the right direction. I think that's the first thing. You know, the other thing is providing an optimistic culture. Yeah, so an environment where people can grow, a happy team, a happy environment, you know, full of respect and all of those good things. So I think as a leader, that's what I take responsibility for. You know, people are everything. I'm only, and as any leader, and I'm sure you feel the same way doing what you do, Terry, is you're only as good as your team. Yeah. I am nothing without my team. The team is everything, right? So it's important to have that really solid team behind you. And look, after working in ecom for 10, 15 years now, so right from the very beginning, you know, and it's changed quite a lot, you've got to have a very strong structure full of specialism, yeah. And it's important to evaluate your team. Do I have the right specialisms? Is the structure correct? Interestingly, Martin Newman from last week as well, I've mentioned him twice on this call, he should be very pleased, he actually helped me at Ted Baker when he had his consultancy Practicology. He actually came into Ted Baker to help me reorganize and restructure the team in terms of justifying new headcount, taking a step back, looking at, you know, what's going to help scale that business. So I learned a lot from that experience, and I thank Martin for that help around, you know, getting that organization design tight. And having the right people around that, because ultimately once you have that, it's a beautiful orchestra, you know, with great rhythm and all of those good things, that then you can really start getting that momentum and delivery. The other couple of points I would just mention are, you know, diversity is key. Look, I'm a woman in business as well, so it's important you have that wonderful diversity within your team as well, and great skills as well. So I think that's a very key point. Entrepreneurial spirit's really key. Personally, I'm entrepreneurial, right? So, I like to see that in my team as well, and taking risks, especially in e-com. I don't think you can afford to be too safe in this industry. You've got to have that drive and that passion and entrepreneurial spirit to deliver. Provide a great supportive culture for teams. When people make mistakes, it's totally fine. I always have a good giggle when we make mistakes. I think it's really important to support people that make mistakes in the teams, and create that good, healthy culture to try new things, and therefore people are happy. Look, and I think I'll just finish off that I'm very lucky that, to have worked with the best teams, and some wonderful, wonderful people that are highly skilled in what they do. And look, I hope in some small way I've helped contribute to their career development, and it would be really enjoyable to watch them move through and hopefully take my type of roles in the future.
Amazing, Suzanne. As I said, I've spoken to so many people that have all said that have moved into heads of roles themselves, and to hold you quite accountable to the development. So all the advice you've given has been tried and tested, and I honestly can't thank you enough for spending the time with me today. I'm sure we will be speaking a lot more over the next few weeks anyway. But Suzanne, thank you so much as always, and I will catch up with you soon. Thanks, Suzanne.
Yeah, have a great December.
You too.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.